there it is.
And I figured I would break out the normal intro. This is episode 325. Today is July 2nd, 2019. And I feel a little motivated to get in here and talk a little tonight. And it's about, about 10:30 at night. Just got done messing around with my television antenna system again. I know it's boring, but hey, gotta brag a little bit. So I was digging around in the garage looking for something else. I got a new computer here and needed a cable that I hadn't used in years, so I figured, what the heck, I'll go dig around in the boxes out in the garage and see if I can find that cable, and in the process I found a TV distribution amp that I had bought a few years ago when we thought we were going to cut the cable and didn't. So I figured that out by reading the directions, believe it or not, and thought that'd be just great. So if I put this distribution amp in, I can run a cable to the living room and run both televisions off the same antenna set that I put up, a couple episodes ago. I talked about it, and that worked great, but it was just in the dining room. The TV in the living room only picked up one transmitter with 4 channels on it. But I figured, we'll see if this distro amp will make up for the 3 dB loss plus whatever for cabling to distribute that a little bit further around the house. And I didn't even have to go to the hardware store. I was pretty proud of myself. I found all the cabling from our cable TV system that we no longer use. So I just took a chunk out of that and ran that to the distribution amp, which I put upstairs, and ran the cable into the distribution amp, and then 2 out of it, and I guess I picked up about 11 dB of gain, and that was enough. Overcome the splitter, which was the 3 dB loss, and then a little bit of cabling, and actually got a better signal on the TV in the dining room. And that one actually had a signal strength meter, or a relative signal strength meter. I know, this is geeky, sorry. But suffice it to say, both TVs get the same channel set, and they both work pretty darn good. So I'm happy. Ended up with all the different networks around here, and pretty rock solid. A little bit flaky on PBS just because their transmitter's just a little lower powered than a lot of the other ones, but it still worked out rather nice. So let's see. I got a list here somewhere of all the channels I get now. Let's see here. Yeah, let me look here. All right, so I typed them out. I got a Facebook post. You might have seen that. But basically, I get ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, PBS Kids, Create, which is another PBS thing, I think, CW, MeTV, and Comet Channel. You get those all off the air. And, of course, they do have the Apple TV and a couple Rokus, so and a Fire Stick and all that. So I get all the normal suspects over the interwebs, which is good. So, mainly I watch Netflix, Amazon Prime, Pluto, Hulu, which comes free with my Spotify premium, because, yes, I do like the music on Spotify, even though I don't particularly care for the podcast on Spotify. And, of course, YouTube and whatnot that I can get on all the TVs now through those devices. So I'm pretty happy that it all worked out as it has so far. So since I'm geeking out a little bit, I did do a little change up here in the studio. I got a new computer, so I'm now working with a brand new Mac Mini, and the Mac Mini pretty powerful compared to the 27-inch iMac that I have in here from 2011. And I did get a 27-inch monitor and then another smaller monitor to hook up to it, and that works really good. And it's definitely more powerful than the iMac was, and it's also all SSD based. The only one drawback is I had to break down and buy the Adobe Audition CS 2019 version, or actually rent it. You can't actually outright buy Adobe Audition or any of the other Adobe products such as Photoshop or Premiere, any of those, so you have to rent them. It's not too price prohibitive, but it's just a little annoying. So there's another monthly fee that I have to do for recording. So it is what it is. And or not for recording, but for editing. I've got the digital recorder, so I don't really have to edit too much. Thankfully, my old version of Photoshop worked fine, and I think Premiere's going to work fine. I haven't loaded it yet, but I think that'll work fine for what I'm doing. If I wanted all the fancy new tools, I would do it. I'm sure this copy of Audition does do more things than the old. I don't know what version I had, but it was an older, the one that you could buy outright. So but it's still that old one would still edit and all that. But this one looks pretty fancy right now. I haven't really done anything special with it other than get it up and running, but it's pretty cool. And of course, we've been testing the mid-roll ad insertion from Blueberry, the company I work for, and this podcast is kind of the experiment. That's also motivating me to do more episodes here, but you might hear little things injected into it from time to time. Not really ads, just experimental pieces of audio that I'm putting in at various points, such as maybe right now. Now, this is going to be a pretty cool tool for those that do ads on their podcast. I don't on this one. But for those that do ads, they can inject the ads in various spots in different podcasts. And what's nice about that is they can change those ads out. So say they run a campaign for a month and then drop it, then they just recompile the files on the server, and it will remove those ads or replace them with newer, up-to-date ads. So it's kind of cool. I can see using it myself for a pre-roll, where I would have like a little announcement at the beginning of the podcast that may change month to month, and you heard me experiment with that a little bit at the beginning, and I can do that here. Actually, I can do as many mid-roll ads as I want, or mid-roll insertions as I want. I can also do, I think there's probably a limit, but I figure 3 is a good median. If you're doing ads, you don't want that many ads in a podcast. I mean, that's what television and radio are for, is to load up the ads. You don't want to do that in podcasting. Come on. Although some people do. If you ever listen to Joe Rogan, the first 3 minutes of his show, I think, is ads. Some of the Wondery stuff is that way. I mean, there's room for that. Why not? Everybody to their own. I was just discussing with somebody tonight that really in podcasting there is no particular rules. There are some best practices and, things that you want to do. You want to try to keep your audio quality pretty decent. You want to host your stuff on a fast server so it's not a pain to download or anything like that. But, as far as, I could cuss all I wanted to on the show, and I used to quite a bit. And every once in a while, I'll let one slip. And it is marked explicit, but hasn't really been explicit lately. That's just not something I have to do, so I don't. But like I said, there's no rules. You can, if you do a podcast, you can do whatever you want. And like I do with this one, this is kind of my experimental thing. And that's good. There's other podcasts that stick to more of a format. There's some that don't. But this ad insertion tool is going to be pretty cool. So like I said, you can have a pre-roll, you can have multiple pre-rolls, you can have multiple post-rolls that play after the initial content. You can have ads inserted in the middle, and you can rebuild them at a whim. So it's going to be pretty cool for those people that host at Blueberry that are on our pro hosting tier over there. And yeah, sorry if you hear that noise in the background. That is my sump pump, as we are still in swamp season here, I guess. So definitely getting a lot of water here in the lower level of the Mike Dell's World Studios. And speaking of insertions, you probably just heard one of those if you're listening sometime before July 19th in 2019. Anytime after that, there may be nothing there, or there may be something different there. But said if you're listening to it before July 19th, you should have heard an inserted piece of audio right there. That's going to be the last of it for this episode. And we'll hope that I get all the tags right. I've been testing this thing, and it seems like I've had to upload every file at least 2 or 3 times to get all my tagging right and all that. So it's going to be a bit of a support issue, at least training the customers on how to use it. But I'll be ready because I've made every mistake there is. So I'll be able to tell them what not to do, what to do. And, of course, our documentation will be pretty good. But anyway, enough business of podcasting there, at least for that. By the way, one more thing about it. One more thing. If you listen to Blueberry's company podcast called Your Podcast, which can be found over at powerpresspodcast.com, it's the second podcast on the sidebar there that you can subscribe to. I am interviewing Barry Kantz, who is the host of the Home-Based Travel Agent podcast, which may sound totally out of my league, but he's also the lead counsel, lead lawyer, and the CFO, the chief financial officer for the company I work for. And we're going to, it's going to be his first time on one of the company podcasts, so be fun. I think I usually record that with Todd Cochran, CEO of Blueberry and Raw Voice. He is out of the country currently on business, so hopefully he's having fun and productivity over wherever he is. But so tomorrow morning we're going to record that. That'll be out Monday. And no, it won't have any ads inserted into it because we're not using that as a test. Anyway, so that'll be fun. So that's my next podcasting endeavor. But not much else going on here. Just got back from a camping weekend. We went out to Benzie for just Friday night, Saturday night, and it was nice. The weather was darn near perfect. A little bit warm on Saturday for my taste, but that's all right. It was nice in the shade, and got a lot of chair time and reading time, and catching up on listening to my podcasts and audiobooks. So it was nice and relaxing. The wife got to go to the pool, and we had family out for dinner on Saturday night, and that turned out really nice. And yeah, it was just a good trip overall, and the motorhome run like a champ. And geez, I'm not, I guess English is optional tonight. But anyway, just a quick update and to play with the ad insertion system a little bit here, and let you know that I did finally get the 2 TVs in the house, at least the 2 main TVs, hooked up to the same antenna with a distribution amp, and it's working out wonderfully. I just have to run the cable from the other antenna back down here to the dungeon studio here, so at least I can watch the morning news if I come down here and start work early. But I don't watch a whole lot of TV in general, but I don't watch a whole lot down here in the office either, so you got enough other things to do usually. So everybody have a great 4th of July for those that it applies to in the United States. By the way, yesterday was Canada Day, so happy Canada Day to those of Canadian persuasion. I know a few of you guys listen to me ramble from the other side of the lake. But anyway, everybody have a good one. Catch me later.